Good evening. Can everybody hear me? My name is Meredith Fine. I'm an attorney in Gloucester, and I'm a member of the Chamber of Commerce Government Affairs Council. Thank you all for coming out tonight for the At-Large Councilors Forum, sponsored by the Cape Ann Chamber of Commerce. Thanks to 1623 for videotaping this and broadcasting it, and for all their amazing work through this election season. And thanks also to the Gloucester Stage Company for hosting this event. And I am introducing our moderator for this evening, Bob Visnick, who's been an attorney on Cape Ann for more than 20 years. He's a native of Cape Ann. He's currently the Rockport Town Moderator, probably the toughest job on Cape Ann. One of the toughest jobs on Cape Ann, lowest paying. He's a former president of the Rockport Rotary Club and has served his country as a lieutenant colonel in the Judge Advocate General's Court. It's my pleasure and privilege to introduce Bob Visnick as our moderator tonight.
Thank you, Meredith, and thank you for everyone who has come out this evening for this event, and thank you to the candidates. I'm going to ask all of you as you answer the questions this evening to keep the microphone close and to remain seated so that the audience and the larger TV audience can see you all. Prior to the start of this event, in an elaborate ceremony, the candidates drew lots, and their seating order will be the order that they will answer the first question, and then as we proceed through the questions, we will go, number 2 will answer the second question to start, number 3, et cetera, et cetera. There will be a closing statement, and we will go in reverse order for the closing statement. There will be 5 to 8 questions. The candidates will have up to 90 seconds to answer the question, and Kerry will be giving them some cues. There'll be a warning at 30 seconds and a warning at 10 seconds, and then a stop sign will come up, and the chairs are electrically alarmed if you go beyond the allotted time. After the questions, the candidates can have up to 30 seconds for follow-up if they ask to do so. And at the enormous power that I have at my sole discretion, I can allot you more time if your response is particularly pithy and relevant. We have 45 minutes this evening. There are 7 of you running for 4 seats, and I wish you all the best, and we shall begin now. So, I know some, but not all of you this evening, but if by chance we were stuck in an elevator for 90 seconds, and I were to ask you why you would want to give up your free time to take on this role, and what your qualifications would be, what would you tell me?
Thank you. My name's James O'Hara. I've been a counselor for 2 terms of 4 years. Prior to that, I worked as a citizen on other city issues that affect all of us in the entire city. A number of years ago, we had closed fire stations. People's homes were burning. We have 4 fire stations at that time. We typically only had 1 fire station open. Unfortunately, not only were people's homes burning, but people lost their lives. Most of the calls that our fire department responds to are EMS calls. I'm very proud of that, but I've carried that forward to represent you, the taxpayer citizens of Gloucester. I feel I've done a good job. I answer the phone, return phone calls, emails. I work for you, the citizens of Gloucester, and if elected on November 5th, I will continue to do that. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Jen Holmgren, and I am concluding my first term as a City Councilor-at-Large, and I am asking for your vote. I have been involved in health and human services for over 20 years. I am a registered nurse. I have a very long history with a number of local nonprofits. I currently work at the Northeast ARC in their adult foster care division, and I am also the data manager at the North Shore Health Project. I bring my nurse's heart to this job in every day and in every way. My husband and I are proud to send our 4th grade daughter to West Parish Elementary School, and I am determined to help make Gloucester, as wonderful as it has been for me and for my family, even better for her. I am a 4th generation Gloucester resident. I am related to the Lanesville Finns, and my great-grandfather, Hafton Hansen, was the architect of the Beauport Sleeper McCann House, Our Lady of Good Voyage Church, as well as a number of other buildings on Cape Ann. So I am truly proud to continue serving the community in the best way that I know how. Thank you.
Test. Okay. Hi, I'm Christy Mercurio Sicaranza. I'm running for Council-at-Large because largely you asked me to, and it's an honor to try to fulfill all the different roles and services that are so important to the council. And when I talk about citywide services, we're talking about our boards and commissions. I've been lucky enough to serve on the DMO, Discover Gloucester, that talks about tourism, the Gloucester 400th, the Committee for the Arts, Gloucester Green and the Town Green Committee. It's important that we have a voice at the City Council that can reflect all the different generations. I believe I'm the youngest person here running. Peter might be giving me a run for my money. But it's important that we have leaders who can be accountable, that can communicate, that can offer the best back to you. And an at-large councilor means they're trying to hear from all the voices that can best reflect all the different people within our community. We have a great city. I think the administration has done a great job. I think we have a lot of great city leaders that are trying to take the city to the next level. I was very proud to serve within the administration as the first ever Director of Communications and Constituent Services. So I heard a lot from you, and it was an honor to hear about the ways that we can all work together. And I believe there's a lot more smart city solutions that we can work on together that can raise some revenue, that can raise interest, and especially get younger people involved. I think it's time that we had all of our voices represented on the City Council, and I think you deserve the best. And so I hope you can consider me for your vote.
Thank you. Joe?
Can everybody hear me? Joe Scialino. I am running for my 7th term for City Council. That was split up between Ward 1 and Councilor-at-Large. I was also City Council President for the years 2016 and 17. I get asked this question a lot, especially when you run so many times, why are you doing it? I've been in retailing all my life. I've been a problem solver. People come in and looking for whatever they need and and have them give it to them. So I've always been big on customer service. And wherever I've worked in my own business and other businesses, but also constituent services. And I think I'm well known for that. I'm available. I'm downtown. I don't let it go till I get you an answer. And also I'm a good teacher. Being the City Council President and for the 2 years we had 5 new councilors. I think I did a good job, training them. What's the future bring? I think one of the proudest thing I have that we've done is to make Gloucester a green city. I started right from the beginning when we did the CSO, which was a sewer and getting rid of the bubbler and the turbines and all the environmental things that we're doing now. My goal is to leave Gloucester cleaner, better, and more environmentally sound than our parents gave it to us.
Melissa?
I'm Melissa Cox. Is that on? No. Melissa Cox?
Nope.
All right, not working. Thank you.
And how would you fix that microphone if elected?
Right. Oh, now
IT tech.
Oh, good God. Does that count as my 90 seconds? I'm Melissa Cox, and I'm running for my 8th consecutive year as a city councilor. I gotta say, I'm really glad I didn't get this question the first time I ran, because I had 0 experience as a city councilor or in any political field, which I'm okay with. I don't want to be a career politician, and I want to be able to serve you and be your voice and represent you. I have a degree in tourism marketing, so that lends very well to helping with the city and being part of it and representing you. I have been chair of Budget and Finance for 4 years. I have been the Ward 2 councilor prior to being at large, and it is my honor to serve and represent you, and I certainly hope I have one of your votes on Tuesday, November 5th. Thank you.
Hi. If we were stuck in an elevator for 90 seconds, I'd probably ask you if you caught the game, the past game, and what the score was. Basically, that's how I am. I just like to relate to people. I'm down to earth. I want to see how your day is going, see what your problems are, and really discuss those ideas in a raw conversation. My background is in construction management. I think with the all infrastructure that we have going on in the near future, I think it's imperative to have somebody like myself on the board. I can help the council through the project finance, make healthy decisions for not only for the city, but the betterment of the people. I love this town. My father's a fisherman. My mother worked at Gorton's for 20 years. I'm married with a 2-year-old son. We bought our home last year over by Essex Ave, and we love it here. I'm going to raise him here, and I want him one day to give back just like I want to give back right now. So I appreciate everybody coming out tonight. It's a great audience. Here are 2 of my friends that just walked in a little late. But no, I think it's important to have those connections with those people that you're rooted to. And if I don't know you personally, I promise somebody I know does. And I'm sure they would say good things about me, hopefully. If not, I'll talk to them later. Thank you. Have a good one.
It'll be an interesting elevator ride. Okay, John.
Hi, I'm John McCarthy. I'd like to be able to tell you how many times that question's been asked to me over the last couple of months, but I can't remember. I just spent 40 years working for the city of Gloucester on the police department. I just retired in April as your chief of police, which was a great experience for me. During those years, I got to know the citizens of Gloucester. I got to know the neighborhoods. During my time as police chief, I probably met with every board in the city. I've been in front of city council numerous times. I sat on the special events committee, which approves or disapproves every special event that comes into the city. Gloucester's my home. When I retired from the police department, I thought I still could give back. I thought I still could be your voice at City Hall. And I'm asking you on November 5th to give me one of your 4 City Councilor-At-Large votes. And I promise that I'll work hard for the public and for the citizens of Gloucester. Thank you.
Thank you all. I'll be proud to ride in an elevator with any one of you. All right, we're going to start this question off with Jen. Do you feel the current permitting process strikes a healthy balance between protecting existing businesses and residents while also encouraging and welcoming new businesses and residents? What, if anything, would you do to improve the city's permitting process?
Well, fortunately, the administration has put a lot of permits online now. So developers and residents have access to forms online. They can do a lot more things remotely, which in this day and age is so important. I know as a busy mom who has 3 jobs, I definitely appreciate being able to do anything I possibly can online and accurately. I'd like to say I've heard many times it's difficult to build here. It's difficult to start a business here, and I applaud the efforts of the Chamber of Commerce and BNI and other business organizations to support each other, the Rotary. and make their way as entrepreneurs in this city. We appreciate it. I appreciate it. And I'd like to support residents and businesses in any way I can. I know that there are things that we can do to make it easier. It's definitely one of those long views, and I'd certainly welcome some feedback. I'm happy to work with the administration on these types of things. So, thank you.
Thank you. Chris?
So it's true. I think the administration has done a great job of making sure that there's more support, especially with regard to online services. I was proud to join the IT director, James Pope, for a webinar actually that we were selected, the City of Gloucester, for all of our advocacy and work to get more services online. That's led to an increase of revenue, I understand, for the building department. But I think too often you hear about different stories with regard to the clarity to which different permits can be pulled. And I know we have a lot of non-conforming lots, we have a lot of unusual situations. I do think that the building inspector's department needs a little bit more support, especially when you consider that Airbnb and the short-term rentals certificates have to be issued. And I think right now they probably don't have the right manpower in order to get out there to do the appropriate ways to look into these different houses. But with regard to new businesses and residents, we have a great housing production plan where we're talking about the affordability within this community, but we also need to talk to the right developers who should be working here with us. So we've been talking about the North Shore CDC, the Camerons project, Harbor Light project. I want to see more of the communities that have seen positive effects with mixed use. And making sure that either the Affordable Housing Trust can get some funds for additional support. But when it comes to development, you have to talk to the right people. So people like RCG and Beverly and Salem, I think we can find the right ways to invite people in. But I think all around, you need to have more support, more advocacy within the building inspector's office itself.
Thank you. John?
Earlier, if you were here, we were talking about changing the charter. And I think at this point in time in Gloucester's history, I think we need to work on our zoning ordinances and see how effective that is in hindering business and hindering building and bringing building in. And, one of the first things I think that I would change up is at least look at, and Councilor Cox brought this up last night, is the special permit that the City Council gives. And when's the last time that was updated? And just seeing what's been happening, there seems to be a disconnect between the special permit process and the people that it affects, and the builders too. And we need to look at and find out where is this disconnect, because there's people that are not happy, are not being heard, and for some reason they're not being heard as part of the special process. So there's certainly room for improvement. There's housing, we have the rising tides. We need to start looking at where we're building. So I think we need to pull this all together. And I think the next council should do that and change up, make it more viable, make it so people are representative, the builder's representative, and the city's representative. And everybody is represented to try to make a project good. So when it comes to city council, it's clean and we can move it forward.
Thank you, Melissa. And by the way, if we get to stop and I can't turn on the electricity for the chair, I am going to start singing. Okay, Melissa.
Thank you. As far as a smart balance, I think we should do an audit and see exactly what has been approved with the ZBA and the planning board, because I think we would be surprised to find that a majority of the approvals are for non-conforming lots. Our city's been around for almost 400 years. The zoning laws have been implemented in 1960. So a lot of these houses, when you go to put up a tool shed out back or a deck or a fence, you don't have the proper setbacks. So that's a majority, in my opinion, that's a majority of what we're seeing at ZBA and why the approval rate is so high. Another thing that we could do, as Joe mentioned, is I think we need to look at the special city council permit. I think we have a certain criteria that we look at, and I think it's important that we broaden our scope on special city council permits and look at FEMA requirements now for flood zones and, you know, those kind of things. I think we really need to work on updating our process. And another thing that I would like to see is more city support for the ZBA committee. They are volunteers, and I do think that they should feel more comfortable seeking answers and responses from the city staff with the direction that they're going instead of just doing approvals. Thank you.
Definitely have to agree a lot right there with Melissa, what she had to say, and just echo off what she said. You know, we need to make these permittings a little bit more user-friendly, easier for homeowners. You know, when they want to do it yourself projects, you know, you go on YouTube and you see this little deck you want to build. Now you're like, okay, I can do this. Well, how do I process this permitting? And, you know, I have that experience with some homeowners, and they tell me, it's like, why is this so difficult? And I try to help them through it, but I can't be there for everybody. In other terms, we can also start to vet the permits, make sure that, you know, we're building responsibly. And this is in my wheelhouse. When we have big projects coming up, I understand how to talk to these partners. This is what I do day in and day out in my field. So it would be important to have somebody to represent the city that has a strong background like myself to help educate our council and the rest of the public. And just keep it, you know, transparent with the rest of the neighborhood. We need to make sure that we work with them closely. Some of these projects that are going to get permitted, they need to understand what's really happening, and we need to relate with them and see what their needs are as well, not just for the entire city, but for the small neighborhoods that are going to be affected. I think these are important issues that we really need to address, and we can work together and make a better Gloucester that way. Thank you.
All right, John.
I turned it off, sorry. What's a habit?
You did that on purpose, right?
Not with the cop, I wouldn't.
Civility, gentlemen, civility.
The permitting process in the city, I can speak to experience. I used to, as a sideline profession, build homes in the city. The old permit process in the city would take days, and I mean days, to be able to get a building permit. Now it's online. Since I've retired, my wife's had a few honey-do-list things around the house, and I've gone online and actually been able to pull these permits from my home computer. I might suggest that the city maybe do a couple workshops through the building inspector's office on how to navigate this system. I did have to make a few calls. Secondly, housing in this city, as far as permits, I really believe that it should be a streamlined process as far as creating additional housing, and I mean specifically going from single-family homes to two-family homes. Right now, it requires a special permit through the Board of Appeals, and I feel that that process should be streamlined. I also believe the city has made great strides in recruiting businesses, but I think that is something that we should enhance. I think we should be recruiting businesses to the area. Thank you.
All right. Jamie, then we'll have a chance for that.
Thank you. As Vice Chair of Ordinance Administration, the boards, ZBA, Planning Board, as well as city managers come before the Ordinance Administration, we always ask them to take into consideration the citizens and, no offense, people who aren't attorneys, from the paperwork standpoint, and not make it as rigorous and be understanding, to work with them to try to minimize their costs, because, again, no offense, attorneys are expensive. And, you know, all those costs add up to the ultimate cost, a tax to you, the taxpayers, citizens of Gloucester. So we ask to try to minimize that. As in my professional life, I'm a licensed contractor, have been in construction 18 years, have pulled permits throughout the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. We as a city can definitely improve on that, extend working hours. Time is money. When a contractor asks for an inspection to have an inspector show up at the set time. If a contractor is digging a hole in the street, more than likely as a police detail, that all costs money, adds to the bottom line of what it costs to build in our city. So we need to streamline everything and expedite it for the benefit and reduce the cost of doing business in our city. Thank you.
Okay, I will give you now additional time. If you want that additional time, raise your hand or microphone and we'll grab you. All right, Melissa, we'll start with you.
When my husband and I bought our new house, we went to Home Depot to scope out how to build a deck. And the guy looked at it and he's like, "Ugh, you're from Gloucester, good luck." And that was 4 years ago. Recently, we started looking at doing the deck again and we didn't get the negative feedback. I now work for a contractor in town, and I helped someone pull a permit today, and it took us maybe 20 minutes. So we are improving. Our impression is improving with contractors and with residents.
I just wanted to make a quick personal touch on my situation. So I live on 103 Essex Ave, and the beautiful resort of Gloucester, Cape Ann Marina is right next to me. Some of you may have heard they want to build a boathouse almost 60 feet tall, basically in my backyard. And this is what I mean about meeting the setbacks, building responsibly, and working with your neighborhoods. I'm personally being affected by this, so this is an issue that I also take seriously. Don't take away my natural sunlight. We got floods in that zone right there. Where's the water gonna shut off to? Let's think smart and let's build right. Thank you.
Again. Any additional time?
I did it. Just one thing real quick that I wanted to point out and didn't get to. The building inspector, when I started building, we used to have to try to catch him at 8:30 in the morning. He was out on the road all day. The city has made several appointments to assistant building inspectors, and I find that you walk in the door and you can see someone most of the time now. Thank you.
Especially if you have an attorney. Oh. Yeah, you can go. Yes.
Okay. So I think what you're hearing all around is that we want to make sure it's constituent and customer service oriented, and I think the administration has done a great job on that. What I think we can do more with, though, across this process is a two-way conversation and communication, and that also includes things like, I love when John McCarthy talks about workshops. I think there should be more workshops for adjusting single homes to multifamily. My mother-in-law certainly took advantage of that, who's in the front row tonight. Thank you very much for coming out, family. It's more so just getting people to be aware of what the opportunities are, making sure that people can get the feedback that they need, and making sure that we can all work together to keep, again, making sure it's the best value back for our constituents.
Okay. Anyone else? Joe?
Me. The other area of concern I think that we need to look at is that when a committee, like City Council, does a special permit, we don't write the decision. We have the city attorney write it. And that's a lot of times the boards go to the city attorney also. And maybe, that office is just too busy, to do these decisions, to say, by the way, you really can't do this. You shouldn't have maybe permitted it, as councilors, we all go to that office. So maybe we should look at it and see how that process works.
Thank you. I'm going to turn this question on to the audience and the people at home. This 7 candidates running for at-large. We're working to be your representative, but most importantly, this is your city, and you need to get involved. Call the city representatives, your councilors, the mayor's office. Show up at city council meetings. Things don't get done without participation from you. If you want to change, I ask you, please get involved, speak, and speak loudly. That's how things change. Thank you.
All right, this next question, we will start with Chris. Chris, we are here tonight at Gloucester Stage Company, and the Rocky Neck Art Colony is right across that way, I think, from us. If elected, and Rockport, of course, is like that way. If elected, what steps will you take to bring more support and funding to the arts in Gloucester and Gloucester's creative economy overall?
Thank you. This is a great question. I helped work on the Mass Creative Alliance, which is a Commonwealth program that helps focus on making sure that young people, young entrepreneurs, artists can get the support that they need, whether you're on Main Street, in Lanesville, or on Rocky Neck. And so I've had a lot of different intersections across the North Shore of making sure that young people, and again, people who want to make a creative difference. And so sometimes that means the smart drainage program, where you've seen the different drains where they have different creative drawings and paintings on them. You've seen the murals across the city. We have way more opportunities now than ever to work to our strengths and to make sure that we're welcoming a healthy diversity of voices as well as a healthy diversity of artists. So we have a few different programs. I'd like to see more support from things like the Committee for the Arts, working with our public and making sure that the public-facing walls, the different intersections of even things around murals that perhaps you wouldn't expect to see. Pop-ups, in fact, are a big thing that you're seeing across the North Shore. I'd like to see more of that involved here in Gloucester, but more importantly, to see more support for young people. And I know within the educational systems there are great creative outlets, but there's got to be ways to incorporate public art by incorporating that from the student side all the way through to the nonprofit side, and of course embracing an artistic culture and mindset. Rocky Neck has some great artists, and I think that's true as well as all of Gloucester, frankly. And art means a lot of different things. Creativity means a lot of different things, but we should be a beacon of that. And when you look at the Pyatt public murals there in City Hall, you're reminded that Gloucester was a leader in this space, and we still should be, and we still are.
You almost got the first note.
Okay. One of the economies that we have in Gloucester is a visitor economy. And the Rocky Neck Art Association, the Gloucester Stage Company, it really couldn't exist if it wasn't for all the visitors that come to Gloucester. And I think that we have to make that available, keep the visitors coming, keep the shows going here during the summer, and, they have the both to the hotels and all the rest of it. But I have a dream. I sit across at my store and I look across at Santander Bank. And Santander is moving out, they're going over to Walgreens. And I had talked to Jeff Rashawn, just as a dream. Wouldn't the Gloucester Stage Company move in there, be a beautiful building to do? And, and he agreed, he looked it over, and it says it's doable. Whether in the future they can do anything, I don't know. This is a good facility, but it could be better. We could have a Shenlue type facility, but we could have it downtown with plenty of parking. So those are the things I think that we as a city should help direct a facility like this, that is so important to the city of Gloucester, to help them move into a better facility. So that's my dream. Spread it around. Maybe you can help make it happen. If you know anybody at Santander. But it can be done, and that's something I'd like to see happen. There's Jeff right there.
That building's actually owned by Bank of America, so you might want to start there instead of Santander. I was on the council when both the cultural districts were approved, and we supported them wholeheartedly. Some of the other things that I do to support the arts is I'm a member. I'm a member of a lot of locations: Rocky Neck, Maritime Gloucester, Cape Ann Museum. I'm sure I'm forgetting some, but you forget how powerful your independent membership can be. Utilize those locations, talk about them. If you're a member, you'll know more about them, and you'll be able to share that with tourists that are walking around, and give them directions or look it up on your phone for hours of operation and stuff like that. I would like to see more of our public buildings utilized, such as City Hall on the weekends. Utilize those for our local artists to do shows. During the summer, that would be an amazing venue. Like, the venue itself is art. The Y is moving out of their downtown location. That, along with a lot of downtown, we've changed the zoning on that, and we've allowed businesses on the bottom floor and residents on the top. Why not do that with the old Y building? The Gloucester Stage would be a perfect place to put in the pool area. It's already wide enough for a stage and large enough for that, and then put the housing on the top. So just some ideas.
I always have a special spot in my heart for the art colony. From Gloucester High School, I was an art major. Miss Cap and I had a great relationship. But when you want to talk about more support, we have to look at our kids. And there are a lot of nonprofit organizations in this town that I would love to support more. The Art Hive being one of them. My friend Dave Brooks operates that program. We work together as a board director myself for a nonprofit. I know what it takes to generate the money we need and to push forward, because it's expensive. It gets expensive, the overhead, and I think it's important to keep the kids first, because they're going to be the next generation to pass on the baton. They're the ones who are going to continue the culture of art that we hold in this beautiful city. So it's important to start with our youth and go forward from there. Thank you.
I think one of the most important things we can contribute to our local artists is to give them people to buy their art. In other words, bringing people into the city. I've said before that I thought one of the best ways to bring tourists into the city and not cause congestion is by doing that via the large, expansive harbor that we currently have. Cruise ships are going into Salem every day. Now, the small cruise ships that come into Gloucester, a lot of times they're taking the tours and going out of Gloucester. The larger cruise ships are starting to go into the terminals up in Salem. There's no reason we can't be running shuttles from Salem to Gloucester instead of out of Gloucester. When I sat on special events, there was an idea to have an art week every week, and they were going to display their art around town. I thought at the time, what better place than Fitzhugh Lane and the grounds around the Fitzhugh Lane statue? I mean, who's more a famous artist in Gloucester? Maybe we could have a Fitzhugh Lane Day every week and have an open air type of display and day that people can display their art and sell their art. The ultimate dream would be some type of a civic center on I-4C2, maybe made of glass that you could look through, see the harbor. But that, again, is a pipe dream. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I spoke to the mayor last spring. We, as a city, have to make sure when the visitors appear, as they do every springtime, that we shake them down before leaving the city to make sure we get every red penny, and that they have a smile on their face. We have to have ambassadors on the streets. We have to be the ambassadors. We have to have clean streets. We have to have parking. We have friendly people who can make these visitors welcome to our city. But most importantly, pertaining to these artists, the problem that they're having, I have a good friend who's a wood carver. He's been here for over 20 years. Housing. Housing is a tremendous problem. These artists are struggling. They want to make a dollar, but housing is a huge issue. So we as a city have to work to make housing more affordable. Last night at the Lanesville Community Center, bed and breakfast, it's a business. Those businesses are taking spaces away from artists where they have to move around on a regular basis to find housing. We as a city have to work with everybody to create housing so that these artists can stay in our city and be as creative as they are. I'm not an artist. I don't think Bob really is, although he talks about singing, but that ocean inspires artists. And we need to protect their rights, and their right is to have some place to live. Thank you.
Jen.
There have been a lot of excellent points made regarding this question tonight, and I'd like to tackle it from the perspective of being a parent. Our daughter is just about to start learning how to play a musical instrument, and as a musical nerd myself, I grew up in a family where we all played musical instruments and or sang. She's chosen the clarinet, and I am incredibly impressed and thrilled with the public-private partnership that is Gloucester Public Schools and the Gloucester Education Foundation. GEF recognizes that a STEAM education, not just STEM, but STEAM, science, technology, engineering, art, and math, fosters those creative, right-brained activities and nurtures our growing children's minds. They are the future economic drivers of this city. They're the ones who are going to have the smarts and the power to lay the foundation for our future. I want to support Gloucester Public Schools in their endeavors to educate our children in art and music, as well as the harder subjects. The harder subjects, music and art, are very challenging if done correctly, which is why I'm not doing them. So I have to say, as a fourth grader, unfortunately, she doesn't have a music teacher as of yet. She'll hopefully be able to start music lessons in January, and hopefully we can pursue private lessons, but I'd like to see that type of thing expanded. Thank you.
Can I add on?
Actually, the mayor just called me,
Oh.
and she said because we want to get through so many questions, we are not going to do the rebuttal. And her decision is final. I fought with her.
I'll
You know how that
right
goes.
now. I'll talk to her.
Okay. This
See you
next one,
Sunday.
I believe we're starting with Joe. Joe, given the challenges facing small businesses, particularly retailers in downtown Gloucester, Magnolia, and Lanesville, what would you do to improve Gloucester's small business environment?
We've gone through a cycle here in Gloucester. Just happens that one of my other hats is that I'm the director of the Gloucester Downtown Merchants Association. And Gloucester Downtown has been a unique situation, a unique piece of property. We've managed to survive the North Shore Mall. We managed to survive the Liberty Tree Mall. And we're also we're coexisting and managing to survive Gloucester Crossing. I think we know what needs to happen to make Gloucester more inviting is that the city needs to do the city services that make the city inviting, whether it be sidewalks downtown that you don't trip over, maintaining the leads. You have to have the city looking good in order to promote business, and of course associations. The Chamber of Commerce and the Gloucester Merchants Association. We're not competitors. We bring customers into our stores. Chamber does something different. But I think all that comes together between the Gloucester, the DMO. That's what brings people to Gloucester. And I think once people come, you see that traffic out there. We're either all busy or we're all very, very quiet. And when you see foot traffic, we're all busy.
Melissa?
So the question is how you can improve small businesses downtown. I think we are already doing a lot, and I don't want to, there are definitely ways to improve, but we are already sponsoring block parties, sidewalk bazaar, Schooner Festival. We already do a lot as a city without interfering with businesses, but providing more opportunity for the businesses to thrive. It's a business's choice to stay open late during the block party or to take advantage of the programs, and some of them don't do that, and they still survive. Some of the things that I get complaints from businesses downtown are the parking situation. We have 1.5 parking attendants for the city, and during the summer months, the beach time, we have to put them down at the beaches. So there's not a lot of enforcement downtown, and that's unfortunate, and we don't see the turnover in the parking spots like you do when there is a visible person walking around downtown. I think we are open to more opportunities to have events that bring people downtown. Bluefin Blowout is looking for a new venue, so that's possible to bring downtown. I think we need to take advantage of our assets as much as we can. Thank you.
I know that half a parking person always seems to nab me when I come to Gloucester.
Give that lady a raise.
To improve businesses, I think we all know we need better parking, better infrastructure, transportation. Something I thought about was maybe more grid independent. You know, when we have these power outages and these businesses can't operate for days, they take a big hit. And, you know, we need to make sure that they're also a priority. And there's ways we can do that. We can engineer better ways to make sure that their power is up and running, because they live on a day-to-day basis and need to survive on consumers to come in every day. And if they're missing out on opportunities for people to come to their business, then it's going to negatively affect them. Also, maybe we can attract larger businesses, manufacturing business, and maybe that'll help alleviate some of the tax burden on the smaller businesses. These are things that we need to look into, and how we can attract these big companies, well-paying companies. And I think maybe, I don't know if there's something like a small business committee already in place. I've talked to some of the business owners downtown at Drift. One of the owners there told me, she's like, I wish we could work more with amongst the other business owners and generate better ideas for block parties, like better entertainment. You know, she has a lot of great ideas, and some of these other business owners came to me, and I said those are more avenues we can explore, just so we can keep the people downtown during these events. Thank you.
About 2 weeks ago, I walked Main Street from the east end to the west end, and I stopped in every business, and I tried to talk to as many of the owners that I could. And I asked them what works for you and what doesn't work for you, what increases your business and what doesn't increase your business. And I think the number one response was that the hotel, having built the hotel, has increased the foot traffic on Main Street substantially. So I thought that was really good. The businesses also said that when the larger cruise ships come in, they end up with a lot of walk-in business. They walk from Rose Square downtown. Surprising to me is a lot of them wanted to shorten the sidewalk bazaar. They thought that it only supported vendors that come in from out of town and not their stores. They all complained about the parking, which is something that we all live with, and we know that that's an issue. Some of the solutions, when I worked on special events, one thing I used to advocate for was trying to have more events in Gloucester off-season. We have a lot of people, all our hotels are filled up in season. We need to try to recruit events in the off-season to support these businesses when times are slower. And I have 10 seconds. One other idea that came up at the Magnolia, in the Lanesville last night, was a trolley service, and that may be worth looking into, some type of a trolley to move people from different spots. Thank you.
Our city is created by 92% residential. We only have an 8% business. If we can first maintain our present existing business stock and generate more business stock in the city where people don't have to leave. Anyone goes to the Rotary from 5 a.m. onward, you'll see a mass exodus of cars heading southbound. We need to generate business in our city. Businesses, good jobs, so that people, more than likely those people, if they work in the city, they're going to spend in the city. So we need to maintain that, and by doing that, we need to watch our fees, taxes, water and sewer rates. All this affects the bottom line, whether it's a homeowner who, if they're spending more money on our city, they have less money to spend on small businesses. The businesses as a whole, if they're a renter, their taxes are reflected by the fees that we have in our city, whether it's trash, water and sewer. If there's a detail involved, police, we need to streamline everything in our city and make it more economical so businesses can thrive. And as a councilor, we need to look at our tax rate. We bring it so that the businesses are paying equal and maybe even go below, because what little bit that they're subsidizing We need to make it so that we can be on the front page of the Wall Street Journal saying that businesses have a lower tax rate and Gloucester is open for business. Thank you.
This issue is pretty complicated, and it's been going on for a very long time. I was fortunate the other day to meet with John Orlando and some concerned citizens at the Harborview Inn. And John has been a very active small business owner in this community for a number of years. He worked at Art Jewelers prior to opening the Harborview Inn, and he and a number of other people understand exactly what it means to be a small business owner downtown. I, as a consumer, appreciate the courage that it takes to open and run a small business, to pay the rent that it takes to keep that business open downtown. And as I have become even more involved in being a consumer in Gloucester now that my daughter is older and we're not paying for diapers and formula anymore, it's been really quite thrilling to participate in events such as Ladies' Night, which I look forward to every December, and I do a lot of Christmas shopping with my best friend. I have enjoyed finally going to some of the block parties and some of the other events that happen downtown. The Sidewalk Bazaar, of course, that's been going on for a very long time. Thank you, Joe. I know that it is a tough thing to run a small business. I know it's exhausting, and I will say maybe changing hours a little bit would help. I got some feedback from a friend of mine who was working at Turtle Alley during Labor Day weekend, and Turtle Alley was the only shop that was open when the Schooner Festival was going on, and the schooner captain said, geez, I wish that more shops had been open. Okay, thank you. There's more to say, thanks.
I'll take Bill at the chair. So, retail, small businesses, not just for downtown, but for Lanesville, for Magnolia, for across the city is the question, I believe. And that takes a coalition of people to work together to do that. And, you know, we're lucky to be here tonight, sponsored by the Chamber, and they do a great job about helping get the word out about different special events, helping with the Sidewalk Bazaar. But of course, the Discover Gloucester, working with places like Destination Salem, and across the North Shore, there's an alliance of tourism and small business leaders that can help us out. And they have been doing that. To John McCarthy's point, though, the Special Events Advisory Committee is helping to look at all these different special events that are coming into town and to help decide what's going to be permitted and what's not. I think we can find some revenue there, by the way, number one. But number two, let's make sure that everybody knows what's going on. John McCarthy and I used to sit there in the mayor's office on Fridays to make sure that we could let people know the traffic, the weather, what was going on, what small businesses could think to look at with regard to their schedule for shoulder seasons. We have to make sure we can work smarter, not harder. Let's make sure that people understand where there's a good opportunity to move the traffic around. And so with regard to smart parking, we have smart growth plans. We have the chance to actually create an app using an MAPC grant to make sure that we can incentivize people to park in the right places using a centralized brain of sorts to move and incentivize people around. Joe Scialino could help sponsor a parking spot to make sure he gets out the vote, but it wouldn't cost him necessarily a dime. So there's ways to, and by the way, there's a pasta shop downtown that I encourage you all to go to that I had my own meeting with. It's very hard for a young person to start a business. Let's make sure we can support the people and everything that they need with that by using all these different alliances. No singing.
Okay. We will just barely have time to do our closing statements, but there was one question that we won't have a chance to have you answer it, but I'm just going to have a show of hands if you are in favor of eliminating the tax rate differential between businesses and personal taxes. If you're in favor of eliminating that differential, raise your hand. Residential and business, yes. All right, we have two. Okay, now we are going to hear from Mr. McCarthy, and then we're going to come this way. You have up to 60 seconds to give your closing statement. Go.
Thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight. I think this is very important that we've had all 5 of these debates. My only problem was finding something to wear. 40 years on the police department, I've only worn blue shirts. I thank my wife for supporting me, my children. We all live in the city. We all love this city. The city is our home, and it always will be. I think my experience will bode well if I'm lucky enough to be elected. I'm asking you for one of your votes on November 5th. Everybody, I've learned this, that you're supposed to tell where you are on the ballot. So I'm number 1 on the ballot, so check that first one off when you start. I think my experience with the city will help me. I've had, and I've said it tonight, I've had experience with every city board, department head. I've been in front of the city council numerous times over my career. I think I can hit the ground running. I think I'm a good listener, and I'm asking you to elect me to be your voice at City Hall. Thank you.
Thank you. Peter?
Thank you again, everybody, for coming out. My name is Peter Canavo. I'm number 4 on the ballot. Again, I was born and raised here. I'm a union member. I support local businesses. I want to make sure that we all thrive. I'm also a board director for a nonprofit, and I've been giving back for the past 5 years, if not more, to the kids, and so now I want to give back more to the community. Please consider me. I love this town. I'm embedded in some of the oldest traditions we have here, and I like to keep it that way. I can't say any more. I mean, other than I love this town, consider me, please, on November 5th. I appreciate you guys all again for coming out. Thank you.
Go.
Thank you very much for being here at the last debate. It's been a very long debate season. My name is Melissa Cox, and I'm current city councilor at large, and I hope to have your support on Tuesday, November 5th. I represent you, and that means being honest with you. You might not always like my answer, but you'll know it was a very thoroughly researched and vetted response. It doesn't mean that it's a constant no. It just means that I've worked with the city department heads and the administration to come to that conclusion, but I still think there are definitely more ways to get to a yes versus a hard no. I have been on the council for 8 years. I've been on the budget and finance for 6. I really enjoy being part of the budget process. I get to meet with every department head, and I work very well with them to come to a satisfactory, and I'm done, conclusions.
I'm Joe Cellino. I'm number 6 on the ballot. And my past history is that I've certainly been on the council. I've had 13 years experience. City council president for the years 2016-17. One of the things that I think that we've learned in this debate season is that they're like ward meetings, and whoever takes the oath in January, I think we've all learned a lot of what concerns the people of Gloucester. And I think we have a lot to digest and to move forward. So these debates have been monumental to teaching us what the needs and the wants of Gloucester. I have the experience, I have the vision, and I have the ability. And I'm asking for your vote. I've been resting up for 2 years, and I'm ready to go. So hopefully, thank you for your vote on one of your 4 votes. Thank you.
Hi, Christy Mercurio-Sicaranza, number 3 on the ballot, number 3 up here tonight. As I look around the room, I see a lot of friendly faces, but I would be remiss if I didn't thank my family. My husband Frank, he and I were lucky enough to get married at City Hall last year by the mayor, to use the beautiful City Hall space and make sure that we could showcase our love for the city. I see my brother-in-laws here, one of whom is just back from a tour of the Coast Guard. My mother-in-law, who's trying to make sure she can stay living in this city, and she changed her house back to a multifamily. These are the people that I'm fighting for. I'm also fighting for my nieces and nephews. I want to make sure that the city is actually in the best shape going forward. I think about our seniors and the different opportunities that they have in front of them and the lack thereof, frankly. I think about the diversity. I think about all the different ways that we can work together. And I'm really proud of the administration, by the way. I see a lot of different administration leaders that have come out to the debates, and they're working very hard on your behalf. Everyone up here, you should be very proud of, though. And I'm very proud of everyone that we're not Washington, D.C., we're Gloucester. And here's the thing, I love Gloucester for being Gloucester, and I want to see the best version of Gloucester. So if you vote for me, I promise you, I'll give you the best version of Gloucester that I can. Thank you.
I'm Jen Holmgren, and the mic is too close to my face. I want to thank you all for coming tonight. Thank you to Gloucester Stage. Thank you to the Chamber of Commerce. Thank you 1623 Studios and the Gloucester Times. I am number 7 on the ballot, but hopefully number 1 in your hearts. And I, again, want to make Gloucester even better for my daughter than it has been to my husband and I. I currently am the council liaison on 2 committees, both of which are looking into the affordability of living here. I serve on the Housing Production Plan Implementation Committee with a number of administration members and community volunteers, and we're looking into hopefully modifying our inclusionary zoning ordinance to make it more affordable and easier to live here. I'm also serving on an ad hoc committee to look into the affordability of assisted living residences here. So please stay tuned for that. I want to thank the city for having put its faith in me for the last 2 years, and I'm asking for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. My name's James O'Hara. I have a little pin here. This pin's from the American Red Cross. I've donated over 315 pints of blood. That's over 39 gallons. That shows we all need blood to live. That shows how much I care for people. And as a city councilor for the last 4 years and prior to that, I care for the city of Gloucester, you the taxpayer, you the citizens. If elected on November 5th, I will continue that to stand up for your rights whether local rights or constitutional rights. I will stand up for you, the citizen taxpayer of the city of Gloucester, because you deserve to have representation at City Hall. James O'Hara, on November 5th, I ask for one of your 4 votes. Thank you.
Well, thank you all, and remember out there, go vote. It's much easier than giving blood. You are all wonderful candidates, and I wish you all the success in the world. In some sense, I'm glad I don't live in this community, because it would be really hard to limit my vote to only 4 of you. And so on behalf of the Chamber, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out tonight, and don't forget to vote. Thank you.